Happy Monday, everybody. All right, I'm going to pick up on an old theme that I've hit you all with many times before, and that is you must respect debt. I'm not here to tell you debt is good or bad. I'm just here to tell you it's a powerful tool, and you must respect it and treat it like any powerful tool. So think of fire. Fire can get, create light. It can cook food. It can produce warmth. But if you don't respect it, it can kill you, right? Well, and that's the way debt is. It's not good, bad. It depends on how you use it. If you use it well, it can really bless your life. Think about a house. Uh, Instead of having to save up for the average house in Albuquerque is now $375,000. Instead of having to save up that much money to buy a home, you can save up a little less, get a mortgage, and then you've got your own home, right? And then you pay off that debt responsibly. Student loans. Let's talk about that. Again, not good, not bad, but a powerful tool that can sometimes be misused. Now, if you're taking out a student loan and that student loan allows you to get a degree that's producing a big income that you can then pay off that student loan, that's great. That's, I think, what the original intent of the student loan is for. But let's say you're going into student debt and you rack up $250,000 in student debt for a degree that might end up paying, $30,000, $40,000 a year. You're not going to be able to pay off that $250,000 debt with that new job. So it's not a good use of that debt in terms of a tool. Well, that's where we are today with the student loan issue that we've got. Now, we've talked about this before because during COVID, student loans were side tabled. Uh, Borrowers were allowed to defer payments and not worry about them because of the pandemic. And that was part and parcel with all of the stimulus funds that were also going out. And what did that do? Well, it freed up a lot of cash. If your average student loan payment is about $500 a month, that's an extra $500 a month that a borrower can now, instead of putting towards their loan, can now put towards new tennis shoes or going out to eat or get a bigger apartment or something. Well, there's been a tug of war in Washington on when to restart those payments. And you also know, Greg and I have talked about the student loans on the federal balance sheet is the United States' largest asset, meaning that all the students owe the United States government, and that's their largest asset that they hold. Well, Congress last year had voted that we need to start collecting those student loan payments. The Biden administration, it was an election year, said, nope, we're going to fight the Congress. In fact, we're going to fight Supreme Court, and we're not going to require those student loan borrowers. And did it help with getting some votes? It might have. But now, new administration, and there's a new Secretary of Education, Secretary McMahon, who is now saying starting May 5th, those loan payments must start to get repaid. There are currently over 5 million borrowers in default right now. So, how much of an impact is that going to be? We don't know, but some estimates say as large as an extra $15 billion a month in the United States that will now be going towards those loan payments. And the federal government is serious about this, that if you're not paying, you're in default and your wages may be garnished. So that's real threat here. Now, what does this mean? Okay, there's a lot of implications here. One is that's money that was being spent in the economy that is no longer going to be spent in the economy. How will that be affected? We don't know. We don't know if that was just extra money or if those were base living expenses. So will that mean that some of these borrowers have to move out of their apartment and move back in with the parents so that they can continue spending their loan payments, right? We don't know. Here's the other thing. If they're spending less out in the economy, those companies that they've been spending money with are going to have lower earnings. How's that going to be reflected? Well, in terms of our perspective, that's the stock market. If the companies are, if Nike is selling fewer tennis shoes, or if Ford is selling fewer cars, their stock's going to be going down. If they have to move out of apartments, move back in with the parents, you're going to have vacancies. Real estate prices might be affected. So it's hard to say exactly how this will be impacted. The other thing is that folks, if there's any kind of debt burden, they might have to sell other assets to pay those, which could affect the stock market as well. So, all right, how does this affect us? Well, ultimately, I just want you as our viewers, just respect debt. When it comes to credit card debt, student loans, any mortgages, make sure it's something you can afford, that you can pay back, that's going to bless your life later and not harm it. Oh, that's one more impact that this may cause. When students know that, hey, the federal government is serious, you borrow money, you got to pay it back, that may reduce the demand for student loans in the future. If those student loans aren't being taken out to pay for universities, that may affect the price of universities. Universities might become a little more competitive and lower prices. So, or there may be fewer people going to college if they're worried about the student loans they might be paying off, especially if the pain is loud enough out in the marketplace. So interesting. Ultimately, though, this goes back to the bigger picture of we see financial strain on the horizon. Greg said in the last video, you're positioned well. And if you're one of our clients, you are positioned well. This trend will not harm our investments. And if anything, our investments will do even better in this. But it is another indication of recession issues that we see in the future, as well as inflationary pressures. So with that, you all have a great week. See you next Monday. Bye-bye.